So Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
This week's Parsha Rabbi is about the power of seeing, not just sight, but insight. How many people here grew up in a Reform synagogue? So you might think about when the rabbi used to say, "Please rise for the watchword of our faith." Do you remember that? What was that prayer? The Shema, right? So it's called the watchword of our faith, but it's all about listening, because Shema is about listening. Shabbat is very much about our senses, like Ra'eh, seeing, hearing. And there is such an emphasis on beauty in Judaism. Chidur mitzvah, a mitzvah to make things beautiful. It's why, look at our stained glass windows. Every Shabbat, we have this incredible opportunity. In the morning, if you're in here on Saturday mornings, the light is just pouring through as the sun rises, and at night, it comes through that's fire, and that's water. And I was just thinking back to the first time I came to Temple Emanu-El in 1997 to interview for my job here. And I was brought into the main sanctuary, and right before I interviewed, they said, "This is going to be your hallway if you get this job. This is going to be your hallway." And I thought, oh, I'm taking this job. And they put a rainbow flag up there for me because I was the first lesbian rabbi. You see it? So I think about how important sight is and our senses on Shabbat. Oneg Shabbat, when we go afterwards and we eat and we drink together. Beauty, music and singing, eating food, making love, all of our senses are supposed to be enlivened during Shabbat. And then Havdalah, the very end of it, after 25 hours, is basically a ritual all about our senses. Seeing the light of the candles, smelling the spices, blessing and drinking the sweetness of the wine, to remind us to take a little bit of this beauty of Shabbat into the other 6 days. Judaism is a very embodied and a spiritual tradition, but it says that we have to have faith in a God that we cannot see. In fact, we're prohibited from seeing God. In Exodus chapter 33, it says, "You cannot see my face, for humanity cannot see me and live." How can sight be so important if we can't even see this God? There's so much Shema, so much listening, and not a lot of being able to see. In fact, tonight, did you notice some of us covering our eyes during the Shema? This idea of we should be listening so much to what's going on, we need to close our eyes so that one sense can take over the sense of listening and hearing when we close our eyes. Did anybody here remember the movie Coda? Children of Deaf Adults? It was one of the most, Marcia Cantaretti, she's saying yes in American Sign Language. It was one of the most profound movies to me because I often thought about how difficult it would be to live in the world without sight. And it wasn't until I saw that movie, I really recommend that movie, that I understood how profound it would be to live without hearing, how difficult it would be, and how important that sense is. We have 5 senses, and yet we're told there is a 6th sense. Anybody know what is the 6th sense? Memory? It could be memory. Some people think the 6th sense is intuition or telepathy or maybe even proprioception. Empathy. You know, proprioception is that it's what kind of, if you watch the Olympics and see those gymnasts actually flying through the air and upside down and twisting. Proprioception is what allows them to keep their bodies in space without spinning out. But I think that the 6th sense is actually our soul. It's not physical. The 6th sense is what the other 5 senses can't perceive. And that's why it doesn't matter if you're Ra'eh, which is seeing, or Shema, hearing. You really, as a Jew, need to employ your 6th sense, this sense that our soul is alive, especially on Shabbat. So I want to invite you all to think about what it means during this month of Elul that you're going to bring whatever that divine presence into your life is. And I'm going to give you just 2 examples of the 2 extremes of our prophets and the way that they perceived God. One is Ezekiel's perception of God. And I think sometimes when I read Ezekiel that he was a psychonaut, that he was definitely doing psychedelics in the Bible because of the way he describes this chariot of fire. Ezekiel says, "When they moved," describing God, "I could hear the sound of their wings like the sound of mighty waters, like the sound of Shaddai, a tumult, like the din of an army. When they stood still, they would let their wings droop. From above the expanse over their heads came a sound. It was the semblance of a throne like sapphire on top there was shaking and trembling. There was a lot of noise for Ezekiel. But Elijah, it said, "Come out and stand on the mountain before God." And God passed by, and there was a great and mighty wind, splitting mountains and shattering rocks by God's power, but God was not in the wind. After the wind there was an earthquake, but God was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake there was fire, but God was not in the fire. And after the fire, a soft murmuring sound, also known as a still, small voice. Ezekiel had this powerful perception of the noise, the thunder, the lightning, kind of like Mount Sinai. And Elijah just had this still, quiet, small voice. And both of the prophets felt the presence of the divine in their life. So I wonder what each one of us needs to not listen to in order to listen to ourselves and listen to what we need to do, the work that we need to do this year for this month before Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And I want to end with two beautiful pieces. One is from Rabbi Alan Liu, the author of This Is Real and You Are Completely Unprepared. If you haven't read it, Rabbi Noah Westreich is going to be doing an Elul book group on Wednesday nights. It's a great book. This is real and you are completely unprepared. I read it every single year because it feels like there's something that we are unprepared for spiritually each year, and it changes. He says, look, pay attention to your life. Every moment of it is profoundly mixed. Every moment contains a blessing and a curse. And that's what actually Rabbi talks about. Look, see, choose between blessing and curse. He says everything depends on our seeing our lives with clear eyes, seeing the potential blessing in each moment as well as the potential curse, choosing the former, forswearing the latter. Finally, Yehuda Halevi has this beautiful piece thinking about, well, maybe not everybody believes in God, but each one of us, even if we don't believe in God, believes in something. Even if it's hard, as some people come to me and say, I can't believe because I don't know what God is, and I don't like the word God. So I'm going to give you permission. Let go of the word God and think about something that is greater than you, something you can have faith in, something that is there to nurture and comfort you when you are feeling despair, something to uplift us, something to give us hope when it seems like there's a lot of darkness. Because I think if we really search our souls during Elul, we'll find that we are seeking out whatever that is, even if you don't call it God. I don't think God cares what you call God. Just that you believe and you act like you're in partnership with God. Yehuda Halevi, the philosopher and the poet, wrote, I have sought your nearness. With all my heart have I called you. And going out to meet you, I found you coming toward me. Shabbat shalom. So with that, I invite you to look into something in the next month, whether it's a book club or our meditation in the Redwood, something. We're doing a meditation in the Redwood before Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur this year because people said they loved it so much on Yom Kippur. So whatever it is in the next month, do something a little bit more for your soul to think about what it is you need to fix that is broken. We're going to turn now for the Aleinu to page 282. Please rise.
Aleinu.